Great to have you on. There's so much to talk about, including the big game this week. But before we even get to this weekend, I would like to talk a little bit about your career at Ohio State. You were there during an extraordinary time when the Buckeyes had so many opportunities and then finally cashed in late in your career there. What was that like?
Yeah, it was an amazing opportunity. It was everything I had dreamed of. I was a guy who grew up in Central Ohio, and so from my youth, I always wanted to be a Buckeye, and I wanted to be a part of some of those great teams that I watched growing up. And I came in a time of turmoil. Urban Meyer was coming in. My first year coincided with his, and we had a lot of things to get sorted out. But over the course of the career, everything ended out well. We played at the highest levels. Kind of at the end of my career in 2015, I feel like we left one out there, but overall, it's phenomenal, and just to live in Columbus now, relive the memories. It's been great.
Yeah, I think everyone is agreeing that. I mean, you always talk about the team that should have won that didn't, and it was Ohio State in 2015. I know you won the previous year when nobody expected it, but that 2015 team was as good as I've ever seen, and you let one get away against Michigan State on a rainy day in Columbus. How tough was that to deal with after having won it the year before?
It was hard for a lot of reasons. Number one, we felt like we were a better team. And I know people acknowledge that, but you just look at the guys who ended up going in the draft, some of the guys who have signed humongous contracts in the NFL. We had all the talent out there, but personally for me, that was a very difficult one because that was the last time I played football in the horseshoe. And so that's my last memory walking out of that stadium. That's my last memory in the locker room in that stadium. So it's difficult. I think about it all the time. And some of my teammates and I joke now that was the team that probably should have won it. But again, we reached the precipice. We won the first college football national championship, and nobody else can say that. So we got some great memories there.
Joshua, going back to the previous season, you lose that game to Virginia Tech. Everyone's given up on you. And then the chaos at the end of the year at the quarterback position. Take us through some of those odysseys, because that's a team that after the Tech loss, nobody gave you a chance.
Yeah, and the hardest thing about that is you kind of have to look at the story arc of that team from the time I got there in 2012, again, which was when Urban got there, to losing to Virginia Tech. We won 24 straight games, and then we lost the Big Ten championship. We lost an Orange Bowl to Clemson. We win our opener on the road, and then we come back home and we lose to Virginia Tech. And so that was 24 straight wins, and then a stretch where we lost 3 out of 4 games. And so that was a program that was in flux at the time. And we had a decision to make on whether we wanted to right the ship and start winning again, or whether we were going to let that season get away from us. And we flew under the radar for a lot of time that season. I think that did us well, and it gave us time to develop a new quarterback in JT Barrett and to really gel in a new defense that was being run by Chris Ash and Luke Fickell. And ultimately, at the end of the year, we kept progressing and we started hitting those goals. We get to a Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin. We explode there, and the rest is history.
I'll never forget, we did our show in New Orleans the day before the Alabama game, and there were Buckeye fans everywhere. And I asked a few Alabama fans, I said, where is everybody? And he said, a lot of people skipped the game and were saving the money for Dallas for the national championship game. That's how little respect Alabama fans were giving you going into that game.
Yeah, we felt it all too. I mean, we were playing down there in the South, and we knew exactly what it was going to be. And I think nationally, folks were wondering how we even got in there. There were a couple other teams in TCU and Baylor that a lot of people believe should have been in that inaugural college football championship in that number 4 spot. So we had a lot to prove to ourselves. Again, we had shown the mistakes that other teams hadn't really shown throughout that season. And so it was up to us to go out there and prove everybody wrong.
Joshua Perry with us. He's now with the Big Ten Network, has a podcast as well. And I want to get to this weekend because, people read way too much into opening nights, especially when you're on a Thursday night, pretty much the only game in town. How did you view last Thursday night, the opener for Ohio State, and then spin it forward to Saturday night in Columbus?
It was personally what I expected. And I think nationally, Minnesota was not getting the respect that they deserve. They had a very veteran team going out there. Tanner Morgan, a veteran quarterback, the returning Big Ten running back of the year, 5 offensive line starters that were returning, and then a bunch of guys on defense. So I knew there would be some hurdles for that Ohio State team going out there. You got a young quarterback, like you said, Thursday night on the road. There ended up being some weather. And so I expected the game to be uncomfortable in a lot of scenarios for the team. And a defense for Ohio State, too, that was really still trying to get things figured out from last year. As I spin that forward, you look at the second half for C.J. Stroud, and he was 5 of 8 passing. 4 of those passes went for touchdowns. And so I think that's what we're coming to expect when you've got guys like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson out there at wide receiver, that CJ Stroud is going to find the open guys. I think the defense tightened up. Tackling got much better in the second half. But those questions still exist, and they're going to face an RPO spread offense in Oregon that's going to want to stretch the ball down the field. They ran the ball heavily in the last game, so that tackling is going to be big. And ultimately, it's going to be up to the defense to probably come up with some of those plays. I expect the offense to be up to par. Defensively, I'd like to see another step taken forward.
Joshua, I want to talk about Ryan Day because you played for Urban Myer, one of the great coaches in modern college football history. Some wondered how would this transition go, and I don't know. I mean, you're an analyst, but it doesn't seem like anything has changed. Not to disrespect Urban, but explain Ryan Day to the rest of us.
Yeah, Ryan was handpicked by Urban Myer and Gene Smith to basically be the next guy up, and he had coached under Urban for a couple of years, and I think there was a high comfort level in what he was going to be able to do. The thing that Ryan does differently than Urban is he allows the guys a little bit of room to breathe. I always use the analogy that when I walked into the facility, it always felt like 4th and goal from the 1-yard line with Urban and Mickey Marotti. They were just going to make sure that guys were under pressure. It was going to be tense all the time because that's how games are. Whereas Ryan wants a little bit more of a family aspect where guys can catch their breath a little bit. And both things tend to work. Ryan Day has done a phenomenal job of recruiting. We've obviously seen the type of offensive mind that he is and the way that he's able to get his guys to play on that side of the ball well. And ultimately, he's just done a good job of building a program and continuing that success. He's going to have some bumps in the road. It happens with everybody's career. But up to this point, he's done just about everything perfectly, including going to the national championship in his second year.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.